Okay, so that didn't go according to plan. I started the video. So first my computer isn't working. For some reason my camera won't connect. So I was thinking, let's try with my phone, and then my phone didn't have a good Wi-Fi connection. So let's see if I stay online this time. Just one of those days. Anyway, what I was saying in the video that I didn't post, but some of you might have caught it anyway, is that here I am again. For real this time. I mean, Friday was more like the introduction. Me going, okay, I want to do something. Let's see what I can do or what I want to do. And as I already said on Friday, I wasn't sure whether Facebook Live was going to turn out to be my medium. But then Sherry McCarthy, my friend Sherry McCarthy, she's also a writing coach, and she was immediately going, oh my God, this is what I wanted to do, like go live, but I was afraid to do it. So now I'm gonna do it tomorrow, and then we're gonna hold each other accountable until July 2019, which is when we'll be meeting each other for the first time face to face in Edinburgh for a conference. So now we have this kind of wager that for every week we skip, we owe each other a pint. And for people who know me and have been around me, see me drinking, they know I'm a terrible lightweight. So I have to do this every week, or else I won't be able to remember the conference. And I don't like being drunk. I really don't. I mean, people think it's funny, but I don't like it. Anyway, so I was gonna say today I want to talk about fear, but I'm thinking fear will be the topic of most of my talk. So today, let's first dive into it. And there's a quote that actually there's a quote about courage that I read on Friday, and that made me set up my computer, figure out the Facebook Live thing, and just like, it was the quote that made me go, I'm just gonna do this now, because else I won't ever do this. So the quote is from a nice nin, and I'll post it later. I was gonna show it on my phone, but since I'm now talking to my phone, that's not gonna work. But I'll post it in the comments later. So the quote is, and I have it here, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. And of course, courage is so tied up with fear, and I don't think I'm a courageous person. There's a lot of people who tell me they look up to me because I have so much courage, and I'm always like, no, 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 no. I'm like the most scared person that I know. I mean, I have so much anxiety, which is one of the reasons I want to talk about fear. But for some reason, when people look at me, they see a lot of courage. So I'm curious to see how that is for you. But for me, it was like, every time people tell me that I'm so courageous, I'm like, it's not a title that I want to claim for myself, because one of the reasons why people don't know how fearful and anxious I am is because I know how to keep that hidden. So this is also for me sort of a, coming to terms with my own anxiety, my own anxious self, and me, of course, trying to heal that part of myself. So as I said, I want to talk about fear, and I will be talking a lot about fear. And mostly what I'd love to do is see how many different people talk about fear, and how we can connect that and what we can learn from that. For instance, for people who read or listen to Elizabeth Gilbert, I know she's very much like you have to, like, fear is fine in your life, but you have to tell your fear to take the back seat. And sometimes you look in the rear view mirror and say, I know you're there. It's all good. We're good. And you're allowed to be here, but don't take over the steering wheel. So that's one way of looking at it. John Lennon is very much there are two emotions, fear or love. So it's about which one do you choose? Of course, A Course in Miracles is about that. And for those familiar with Gabby Bernstein's work, she's also very much about, she offers a lot of prayers to the universe, or to God or the spirit or whatever your thing is, about, if you realize you're choosing fear, how can you return back to love? So a lot has been said about that. And especially as a niacin quote, you know, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage, it also made me think of Marianne Williamson's quote, and I'll post that as well. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't read it out. But basically what it boils down to is that she says, you know, what we're most afraid of is our own potential. What we're most afraid of is our own light. We're afraid of success. And I've had, like, a couple of years ago, that's what I realized, that a lot of people around me, they think they're afraid of failure. And I think a lot of people are afraid of failure. But for me, I've always been afraid of success. I've always been, you know, but what if I can do it? What if I, you know, what then? And that's what this quote by Marianne Williamson is about. And this is actually the sort of what then? What if I can do it? What happens then? That, I would love to explore that with you in this series. Okay, so for today, what I have, and I know I've already been talking way too long, and I wish I could keep this short, but as people know, I'm very lengthy. Like, I talk on, like, la la la, there's a lot going on in my head, and once I start talking and I feel comfortable, it all comes out. So what I have here, I have this book, and I'm going to read 2 quotes from this book, and then just let you, like, end with a question that she asks in the book, and just let you sit with that. So this is the book. Okay, so apparently when I do this on my computer, then the screen switches. Maybe it does, I don't know. So the book is My Friend Fear by Mira Lee Patel. And of course, when I picked this book up, that was one of the most scariest weeks of my life. I picked this book up in Manchester. I think it was in Waterstones. And they have a gorgeous Waterstones. It's amazing. I went back a few times. So I picked this up in the middle of the week, and I said, like, Manchester for me, that whole week was outside of my comfort zone. I was traveling on my own to a city that I've never been to. I was going to stay with a friend, which is fine. Maybe people are like, yeah, you stay with friends. I mean, that's cheap. Yeah, but I don't do that. I'm like the introvert extreme. And the moment I enter someone else's space, I don't know what to do with myself. I feel too much. I feel like, can I even be here? What can I do? So I start to, like, zoom in on every little thing that I do, and it just freaks me out. So usually when I visit friends, and I don't do that a lot anyway, because it's expensive, because I always go for a hotel room. So for me, this week in Manchester was me... you know, for years I've lived in this, I just have anxiety, I have social anxiety. Not a lot of people know this, but there have been, like, well, it's been a long time now, but say maybe 5 years ago or so, just going to get groceries, which is like a 5-minute walk from my house. I couldn't do that without first having a panic attack. I couldn't do it. And of course, I mean, luckily those days, you know, I don't have that anymore. Like, I don't even think. I just jump on my bicycle, and I just, yeah, bicycle, yes. I mean, I live in the Netherlands, so we do the cycling thing a lot, do everything. I don't even think about that anymore. So I don't have anxiety that crazy anymore. Anyway, and that is actually why I went to Manchester, because I kept telling myself this story that there are so many things that I cannot do because I have anxiety. And then I thought, maybe what I should be doing is see if I can tackle these things. Just try, you know, pick a person that I feel comfortable with, and just try, you know, try some of these, overwinning, like, some of these obstacles. So this was a friend that I felt comfortable with. So if I try this, then let it be with this friend who I was staying at. So, so it's no surprise that halfway through that week, and I hardly slept that week, because, I mean, even though I learned that I can do this, as I was in it, my mind was constantly, like, worrying. So much anxiety. So halfway through the week, I picked up this book, My Friend Fear, probably because I was thinking, oh yeah, I need to do something with this fear, so maybe I can befriend it or something, I don't know. And also, I mean, this is just one of the other reasons that I picked this is because it is absolutely gorgeous. It's so well done. And she did this all herself, I think. So, completely losing track of myself. Yeah, so what I wanted to talk about today is that interestingly, when we talk about fear, is that, you know, the funny thing is that we're so afraid of a lot of things at the same time. So we can be afraid of failure while we are afraid of success, which sounds very contradictory. And one of the quotes in the book actually sums that up as well. So I'm just going to read that to you. It's on, for those who have the book, it's on page 32. And I just recommend it because, seriously, just look at it. Just look at it. It's so pretty. And that just, as a book lover and as a writer, stuff like this just makes me so happy. Okay, so the quote. She says on page 32, she says, "Our culture tells us to be afraid. Afraid of the powerful and afraid of being vulnerable." And I would add, not just being afraid of the powerful, but also being afraid of powerful. As Marielle Williamson said, afraid to embrace your own power. That's definitely, like, I have so much fear of embracing my own power. That is what I'm going through right now. So she continues, she says, afraid of money, because it corrupts, but also afraid of poverty, because it stifles. And she goes on, she says, our culture tells us to be afraid of what we are, human, and who we innately are, our honest, most beautiful selves. We are continually told that changing ourselves is the only way we'll ever be accepted, loved, cherished, or seen. And of course, this is why the beauty industry is such a big industry, because what we need to change also changes, and it's very contradictory. We need to be both skinny, but we need to be curvy, etc., etc. We need big breasts, but not too big. It's constantly, and then 1 year it's this, and then 1 year it's that. Of course, the beauty industry works with that. But yeah, basically it's because our fears are contradictory. It's a constant, but then this and this. And it's no wonder that we're losing our shit and that we're all sort of lost in this world, because it doesn't really give us anything to hold on to. So I was just flipping through this book yesterday, and then a couple pages later, what she says is, funnily, and of course she already says, culture teaches us to fear this and fear this. So funnily, most of these fears are not even our own. They're taught to us. We're taught to fear this, we're taught to fear that. And then she also talks about that, page 36 and 37. She says, most of the time, we don't create our own fears. We carry other people's fears within us. Parents, often unknowingly, are the first people who will begin unloading their fears onto their children. In order to protect them, parents instill a fear of foreignness in their babies. They ask them to stay close. They teach them to follow the same path they once took, because the path's familiarity offers safety. The crevices are known. If there are shortcuts, they can be shared. Why choose winding and circuitous when you can go straight? She goes on, this is usually done with the purest of intention. Parents want to protect their children from pain and difficulty. They want to give us the value of the lessons they've learned so we won't have to learn them ourselves. This usually backfires because as children, we do learn by example, but we learn best from experience. Some of these lessons, you can read books after book, some of these lessons you actually have to go through yourself. You have to learn it, or otherwise it won't stick. You have to do it. And she, of course, that's exactly what she's saying here. So she says, cautious warnings shape themselves into fears, and these fears then prevent us from trying new things, including experiences that can fulfill and fortify us. We miss out on the necessary experiences that can shape us into the people we most want to be. So for instance, for me, that would be, I've always wanted to be a writer. But when I grew up, my mom always said, well, there's no money in writing, so there's no use pursuing it. So I became afraid of my need to write, and it took me years. Like, I haven't been seriously writing I've only been doing for the past 3 years or so. Before that, it was something I hid from the world, because I was so afraid of sharing that, because being a writer, you don't do that. It's not useful. It's not going to sustain you in this world. And of course, she didn't mean anything by it. My mother didn't mean to crush my dream, but what she wanted to protect me from disappointment, from picking a career that would turn out to be a struggle. That's what she wanted to do. She wanted to protect me. But what I'm thinking, like when I go back to the Marianne Williamson quote, you know, that we're most afraid of our own lights. I think this is where we go wrong. This is what happens. We don't try new things. We don't follow our own path. We don't you know, if there's a path, if people tell us this is the, if you stick to this path you're gonna be safe. Every time you go like, ooh, that looks very interesting, you know, two things. First of all, it might be scary out there because this path is the safe path. I have to walk this one. But it also means that if you dare to walk off, like what happens if you step away from this path and follow the curiosity? You stand out. So then the fear of rejection comes to the fore, which is a whole other fear that I will absolutely get into at some point. So yeah, when I go back to what I said on Friday, that I wanted to talk about the who am I too, that also comes from it. Like, who am I to want to be a writer? Didn't my mother tell me to pick something differently? And not just my, like, maybe, I mean, let's not, you know, let's not like use my mother as a scapegoat here. I'm just saying that a lot of our parents do this. I think it's natural. I think it's natural, and of course society had to. I mean, it's not. If my mom had said this, but my society, my culture had told me a completely different story. You know, be a writer. It's the most, you know, successful job on the planet. Then what she would have said would not have had so much impact. It's only because they, you know, they work together. What my mom said and what society tells me, they work together. So that became a very strong fear in my mind. And I think that's one of the reasons why we keep ourselves small, why we are afraid of the things that we want to do. We are afraid to follow that curiosity. We're afraid to figure out our own potential. Because what if we stray too far away from the path that we've been taught was the safe path to go with? Okay, so I don't even know, like my phone doesn't show me how long I've been talking, and I'm sure it's too long. So what I wanted to end with was this quote by her. Now, I'm not sure if you can read this, but look at me. I just love the artwork in this one. So she says, or her question is, when was the last time you felt unafraid? When was it? And I just want to invite you, like, honestly, you know, sit with that for a minute or two. Maybe write it down. When was it? When was the last time you felt unafraid? Can you even remember? And if you do remember, what were you doing? Where were you at? What was going on, or what wasn't going on in your life right there? And please feel free to tell me in the comments, or if that's too personal, PM me, so we can talk about that later. Okay, so this is it for now. I'm hoping this video is of a better quality than the first one, that my voice is better, that I don't look so terrified. My friend texted me, oh my god, so many ums. Yeah, I was terrified doing that video, and I know I'll be more comfortable as I do this. I just hope it's useful. Okay, I'm going to get some work done. I have a new book, just arrived yesterday night or last night. I have a new book to edit, and tomorrow I'm starting teaching again at university. So better prepare myself for that. Okay, thank you for watching, and see you next week.